So let's talk about recognizing the difference of squares and being able to factor it. So let's go back to where we saw difference of squares come up with multiplying polynomials. So remember, we're going to FOIL here. So we're going to have 2x times 2x. So there's where one of our squares comes in. We're going to have a positive 2x times 3. We're going to have a negative 3 times 2x. And we're going to have a negative 3 times positive 3. So what ends up happening here is we see 2x squared, and I'm just going to write this a little differently for a moment so we can see this notation. And then we have a plus 6x minus 6x, and then a minus, and I'm going to write this little special 2 as 3 squared. Now what ends up happening is these middle terms, positive 6x minus 6x, turns into 0. So what we end up with is just 2x squared minus 3 squared, which is the same as 4x squared minus 9. But I want us to see this notation where we have our value from our binomial squared minus the other value from our binomial squared. So in factoring, what we're looking for is the difference of two terms. So we're looking for a binomial, and from there we want to see a square minus a square. So let's try this out. So I'm seeing here is we have two terms, and I want to see if I can re-express this as something squared minus something squared. Now 9 I know is equal to 3 squared. With 16 I know that comes from 4 squared, and then p squared comes from just taking a single p squared. So with this, once I see those bases for those exponents of 2, what I can do is set up my multiplication of the two factors, where I have one is going to be addition of the term, so 4p plus 3 times 4p minus 3. And that's how we can factor with our difference of squares. Let's try that again. Now 3 is not a perfect square, but what I'm seeing is it's a common factor between the two terms, so something I could do is factor it out. So I'm left with y squared minus x squared. And then I could see my difference of squares. So 3 is going to keep hanging out front, and then we're going to have our two factors, one which is the addition of the two terms, one which is the subtraction of the two terms. And that's how we can factor with our difference of squares.